In today's Leeds news, Dracopoulos on Leeds United, Farke on remaining business, more interest in Ramazani, current transfer state of play, and this weekend's loan watch. Monday, the 10th of August, you're here at the Leeds View with your daily Leeds United news. We do these from a Monday to a Friday, as well as a transfer wrap up at the weekends and 2 podcasts a week. I hope you're all having a good day. Your weekend went well. There'll be a slight disruption to the audio feed on today's podcast. We're transferring from Sports Social Network over to Talk Sports Fan Network, which is a much bigger distribution network for audio. It'll only impact audio, and it gives us a chance to get more exposure on the channel and hopefully grow the audio side of what we're doing over the next 12 months. That's been in the works for a couple of weeks, and fingers crossed it will give us a little bit more reach over the next week or so. So if you're listening to the audio normally, welcome to the video feed today. We're going to sort it out in the next day or two. All right, bit of stuff to get stuck into today. We talked an awful lot about the transfers yesterday in Transfer Talk. Massive thanks to everyone that joined us for the watch along on Saturday as well. We'll have another one of them. Not for the game against Manchester United, because I will be at that game, but for the final pre-season game before we get stuck into the season. And then fingers crossed we're back over on bigup.com for all of them after that. Right, let's crack on today. We'll start off with Leeds United investor and board member Andreas Dracopoulos. Really interesting human piece, I suppose, that's come out from Barron Cross in The Athletic over the weekend on Leeds United's newest board member, Greek shipping heir Andreas Dracopoulos, who joined the board and invested in Leeds United for a second time, which we did cover when he first came in a few months back. But what is interesting, and if you're not aware, Dracopoulos was an investor in Leeds United during the ill-fated chase for Champions League dreams under Peter Ridsdale that unfortunately collapsed and saw Leeds United go into bankruptcy at that moment in time. And if you weren't aware of that, Leeds missed out on 2 Champions League spots back-to-back seasons, and that caused Leeds United to be delisted from the London Stock Exchange, which caused Dracopoulos and every other investor to lose all of their investment in that move. He was also criticised by his investment manager of going, why did you get involved in something like that? But it didn't put him off. And what you might not know is he did try to get involved with Leeds United again not that long ago. Just before the pandemic, Dracopoulos tried to invest in Leeds United a second time under Andreas Ramazani. The issue this time around was he met with Andreas Ramazani and he had an auditor check out the Leeds United books, and his auditors flagged Leeds' finances at that point as being too messy. So he didn't get involved with Leeds at that moment in time. There's probably a bigger story in that all on its own, stuff we wouldn't be fully aware of at least right now. But when the 49ers took full control of Leeds United, Dracopoulos had a conversation with Parag Marathe, and this time around he did get back involved and joined Leeds United earlier this year. Now, on the personal side of things, Dracopoulos is a lifelong Leeds United fan. He grew up supporting Leeds United, idolised Don Revie, and used to watch an awful lot of Leeds through videotapes that were sent to him from London of Match of the Day. And his 19-year-old son is now also a massive Leeds fan, has fallen in love with the club as well, and watches games with Dracopoulos. So another father that watched Don Revie's Leeds that has passed this club on to their son. There's a ton of us that can relate with that one. He was speaking about Leeds United's future as well, and he's got a similar stance on this to what Parag Marathe's stance is, and it's about establishing a residency in the Premier League and being a little bit patient to get what we all want in the longer term on this. Obviously, he was around in the 2000s when Leeds were sprinting to try and be a top club in the Premier League and top side in Europe. He probably has some scars around that, but he does believe that Leeds can dream big again. But he said this: it's okay to be ambitious, but you have to be patient. Now, he does see a lot of positives in Daniel Farke's side right now, similar to what he saw in David O'Leary's side back in the day. And he thinks that Leeds United are genuinely building something strong and positive right now. He's very clear on his own personal ambitions at the club. He is in this to invest and nothing more than that. He said that there's no hidden agendas, no ambition to take over the club. He positioned his role as contributing in good faith for as long as it works for everybody, and is not building towards control or takeover at the club. Now, it would be interesting in the longer term, though, as well, because everyone's worried about maybe Red Bull taking over Leeds and what that will mean. We're going to do a bigger, deeper dive into, is there any reality in Leeds United becoming RB Leeds? Probably not, actually, as that might be the case. But what is interesting is you've got somebody like Dracopoulos who's got very deep pockets, and you've got somebody like Pete Lowy got very deep pockets. Both are Leeds United fans. And if the 49ers enterprises ever decided to sell up and walk away from the club, maybe there's a consortium of the two of them that might step in and take over Leeds United. So yeah, interesting times ahead. Let's move on and talk about Daniel Farke and Leeds' remaining business. The clock is ticking on the transfer window. Leeds still have got a bit of business to do. Daniel Farke has pretty much confirmed that over the last couple of days. We've got a couple of weeks left in the transfer window. And as we said yesterday, Leeds United can get their skates on when they have to and have brought in plenty of players in a single week when the time was against them. Daniel Farke has been pretty tight-lipped about what he needs and wants in the remainder of the transfer window. Nothing surprising there at all. But Daniel Farke does tend to get a little bit more loose-lipped towards the back end of a transfer window, specifically when he doesn't feel that he has a full deck of cards to work with. And he's given a little bit of an indication on what he still wants to get done. He was asked directly about Leeds needing another striker and maybe someone that could compete with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And he said that Leeds United were being deliberately picky about who they bring in. He pointed back to getting the right character in the dressing room before they bring anybody in. And they're not just looking for another player. So they are being, again, patient and picky about what they're doing. But he did confirm that Leeds United are not done with their summer business and still have more work to do. And he said this: I expect also that we will do something. You can guess a little bit what positions that I would like out of my answers. That appears to be left back, cover, number 10, number 9, and a goalkeeper. So still looks like 4 players at these 4. Interesting to see what Leeds will do in the central midfield area after missing out on Shea Charles. Sean Longstaff's had a very strong start to his pre-season, so maybe that's already been fixed. Farke is also keen to avoid second season syndrome with Leeds United, and he is fully aware of what he needs and says that the club is also aware and is proceeding accordingly with what they want to get done. But he did also drop in the limited resources line that we've heard dished out before. So exits are likely to be needed to get more funds in to spend on the players that he needs, especially in a world that involves SCR now. So Leeds are still busy and still working through shortlists, at least right now. Move on. One of those exits could be Largie Ramazani, and his situation got a little bit more interesting over the course of the last couple of days. And as we know, Valencia have been the front runners in the main club that are believed to be interested in bringing Largie Ramazani in this summer. But they've got a certain perspective, I suppose is the nicest way to put this, on this transfer, where Leeds have got a very different one. There is an update this morning from Radio Marca in Valencia who say that there are now several teams interested in a move for Largie Ramazani, and Valencia are no longer the only club chasing the winger's signature. Now, Valencia's issue on this isn't necessarily a transfer fee. It's more the structure of that transfer and when they pay that transfer fee. Valencia would like another loan with an option to buy at the end. Now, we know Leeds' history with options, and they've already given out a few charity transfers already this summer. Leeds' stance is clear: permanent exit with a transfer fee. The fact that Valencia already had him on loan last season, you don't get a second chance to get another look at a player that you've had for a full season and had a very strong second half of your season. The manager knows him very well now at this stage. So where is the need for an option unless you just don't want to pay the money? The Leeds are not budging on their stance on this, according to Radio Marca, and there are several teams interested. And Radio Marca, who did point out that there were likely going to be some clubs interested in Ramazani from Italy, have doubled down on that again now. Leeds want £8 to £10 million for Largie Ramazani, and Radio Marca claim there is significant Italian interest in Largie Ramazani now. It doesn't name the clubs, but says that it will be a very interesting week for the winger. They do name 2 sides that are not in Italy and are not in Spain. AEK Athens and Besiktas are both clubs that are named as having interest in Ramazani. And the situation, as I say, has been labelled as open, but an important week for the winger's future. They do say Valencia still want them, but if they do want them, they're going to have to get their skates on and put a fee on the table. So we'll see where that one goes for Largie over the next week or two. We'll move on. Given that we are into the last few weeks of the transfer window, it's gone very quiet. And as we all know, that usually means Leeds are very actively working on a player, which there is rumour out there that Leeds are working on somebody as of right now. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes' time. No massive detail on it. But in the past week, all we've had is rumours, similar names been popping around, and trying to cut through that noise and find out what's real and what's actually not. But there's a little bit of an update this morning on 2 that have been mentioned: Orlando Gill and Igor Paixão, and where we are with those 2. And the Paixão one gets very interesting because it does appear to be out of Leeds' control if the narrative from France is to be believed. Starting with Orlando Gill, and there's an update coming out from the journalist who broke this story last week, Carolyn Carrera, who claims that Leeds United have submitted a formal bid for Orlando Hill. And that report has been pushed back on by Sky Sports, who again are towing the line that Leeds have been putting out there, that he's a goalkeeper 1 of 5 on a short list for Leeds right now. Now, this is interesting because we have seen Leeds push back with the UK media when they've been involved with transfers. They don't like other clubs getting involved in it. The leaks have come from other countries, teams, agents, people that are involved with these transfers. So maybe there's something in that, maybe there's not. But at the moment, still a player of interest, depending on who you believe. There's no active negotiations or there's a bid in the table. That's where we are with that one. Igor Paixão is a bit more interesting. So over the weekend, we got the news that Aston Villa are not in the race to sign Igor Paixão. And there are 2 new pieces from France this morning which add to that and give a bit more detail on what the position is of the attacker. One outlet claims that Marseille are in absolutely no rush to sell Igor Paixão. He's contracted till 2030, and they say specifically that Marseille will dictate the price and will dictate the pace of how this player and potential sale will move. They also state in their piece that Aston Villa are no longer in the race to sign him. Second piece that comes from L'Equipe this morning in France claims that Leeds United are in a race with 3 clubs, including Leeds, to get Paixão. Leeds, Real Oviedo and Celtic, surprisingly, have been mentioned. They're a bit more interesting in this. Celtic are also believed to be interested in Hassan. If they get him, they won't be interested in Paixão. And anyone with an active knowledge of Scottish football knows that there's probably no chance that Celtic are putting 30 million quid on the table for a player. And they're not going to be in a position to go higher than that should a bidding war start. So if there are 3 clubs involved in this, and they're the 3 clubs that have been mentioned, you would imagine, should Leeds United decide to be interested and make a move for him, that they will be the front runners to get this one done. Where we are with this, still a £30 million price tag on the table, but Marseille are adamant that they will dictate the speed and dictate the price. Now, the price has already dropped from 50 to 30. We'll see if it drops any further. This could drag all the way out till deadline day. If Marseille are going to dictate the price, they'll want more clubs to get involved in this. And that might mean that this will go all the way down to the wire. But if no one else gets involved, and that could also work in Leeds' favour, should they be in a position where they absolutely have to sell. So, looks like it's going to rumble on for a lot longer, at least right now. But again, he's one of several players on the list for Leeds. On the other stuff about rumours, there is an active rumour floating around that Leeds United are very much engaged in negotiations for a player right now. There's nothing coming out around who that is. It is labelled as an attacker. That could be a wide player, a 10 or a number 9. But that's what's apparently active right now without any major details on it currently. Let's move on and get into the return of loan watch and the first one of this season. Football's back. We get to say this season and not the upcoming season or the new season. We've got 2 to talk about. Harry Gray, Charlie Crew, the first 2 to get stuck into. Harry started and played 79 minutes in Sheffield Wednesday's 1-0 League Cup win over Bolton. He had a pretty interesting game. He got into a bit of physicality with Javier Simmons, who got a straight red card for sucker punching Harry Gray in the ribs from behind in a bizarre move and a mental moment for the Bolton player. But a very good start to his season for Harry Gray. Was playing on the left of a front 3 and didn't look at all afraid to be active and run at Bolton and be very aggressive in his attacking. Interesting to see. It's an old Arsene Wenger trick with a striker. Put him out on the wing, get him used to beating players 1v1, then slowly move him back inside. So from a development perspective, could be really, really good. Charlie Crew started on the bench for Walsall, but came on the 63rd minute in Walsall's 1-0 away cup win over Bristol City. So there you go. We'll add more players to that as and when they all start to go out on loan in the next week or 2. There'll be a few. Lucas Perry will be one of them. That's likely to happen in the next couple of possibly hours, possibly days. Let's see where that one goes. But folks, that'll be it for me today. Massive thank you as always for supporting this channel. If you can stick a like on the video on your way out the door, that'd be massively appreciated. I'll talk to you later on. See ya.